y no hay alcohol, y no hay alcohol, y no hay alcohol, y no hay más que pasión.
Y aquí estamos ya comenzando el primer episodio de la segunda temporada de Expeditos. Gabriel, ¿cómo estás?
Carlos, qué gusto. Pues muy bien, con el gusto de reiniciar después de una breve ausencia. No tan breve que dijimos que mejor ni nombre le ponemos, pero con mucho gusto de estar otra vez con todos ustedes.
Sí, no, eso de la breve ausencia ya ni la burla perdona,
Sí.
man, de plan. Breve ausencia. Si nos echamos unos mesecitos, esperemos que el compañerito este que nos insulta alegremente.
Sí, que nos califica, ¿verdad?
Sí, no, pero fíjate, nos insulta porque no hacemos otro. Entonces eso es casi que homenaje. ¿Estás de acuerdo?
Sí lo vemos como halago, sin duda, ¿no?
Totalmente.
Sí, es un halago y...
Pero en fin, que ya estamos acá, finalmente, y déjame te platico qué vamos a hacer con el primer episodio de la segunda temporada. Fíjate que tuve la suerte infinita de asistir a la convención mundial allá en Vancouver. Celebramos el 90 aniversario de Alcohólicos Anónimos, ¿no? Y allá me enteré que había una película, que acaban de producir una película, un documental que se llama Contacto Consciente, acerca del paso número 11 de la oración y la meditación. Y entonces hablé con el señor Jay Stinnett, que es productor del documental, y tuvo a bien hablar conmigo para platicarnos un poco acerca de este filme. ¿Cómo ve usted?
Oye, súper interesante todo. Por supuesto, tu estancia en la convención, que ya nos platicarás, pero sobre todo esta experiencia y lo que lograste, ¿no? Que es lo que vamos, creo que, a presentar como primer episodio. Entonces, bueno, súper experiencia y qué gusto poderla compartir, pues, con todos los que nos hayan tenido paciencia y que aquí sigan, ¿no? Con nosotros.
Es que usé el prestigio de Expeditos a nivel mundial. Las
Eso
influencias del prestigio. No, bueno, pues el señor, la verdad, muy amablemente. Y ahora vamos a escuchar lo que nos dijo acerca del asunto. Habla de oración, de meditación, habla de la producción, habla del paso en general. Muchas cosas muy interesantes de Stepping Stones, que es la casa, el hogar histórico de Bill y de Lois, también habla de eso ahí. Y en fin, yo creo que va a estar padre. Está en inglés, pero está subtitulado para quien no le masque tanto al Peak English, pero sí está subtitulado, así es que, pues si no,
Oye,
¿qué? Dígame.
no, pues súper interesante, ansioso por escucharlo y qué gran experiencia y qué gran logro, Carlos. Entonces, bueno, ya lo compartiremos después de haberlo visto y pues excelente, ¿no? Y qué buen reinicio y pues qué bueno que estén aquí y que bueno, esperemos que ahora seamos más continuos y aquí estaremos viéndonos.
Vamos
Y
a echarle,
escuchándonos sobre todo.
vamos a echarle para adelante con la respectiva disculpa, sí, señor. Ok, pues aquí está entonces la entrevista.
Yep, Jay Stinnett. Carlos, it's delightful to be with you here this morning. Excuse me.
Likewise, thank you very much for letting us speak with you. It's going to be super interesting. We were just saying that I saw the film and I thought it was fantastic, the subject, the way it was done. So, if you don't mind, I would like you to tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you come to be a producer?
Right. Okay. Well, let's see. I'm the most fortunate guy you've ever met. And the reason I say that is that I get to live here in Sedona, Arizona, where I live in the fourth dimension. I visit the fifth, and I entertain people that are stuck in the third.
Okay.
And what I'm 71 years old, and I've had a marvelous creative life. Although I never thought that I'd be a film producer. I like to say that as a small child, maybe about 8, I got dropped on my head, and I have had a love for history ever since. And also, one of the other side notes I should say is that I'm very close to Don Miguel Ruiz, who wrote a book called The Four Agreements, which is a Toltec spirituality, and I've known him for over 30 years. And so the opportunity to be with my brothers and sisters in Latin America is just fantastic. Alcoholism devastated my family. All of my cousins had bad problems. I've got a sister who's in recovery. I have a daughter who's in recovery, but nobody was in recovery when I first came in contact with the 12 steps, and I couldn't understand how this problem, this horrible problem, was being solved not by doctors, not by priests, not by psychologists, but by individuals helping each other. And so I got very interested in this. Now, I got kind of pulled into that world in 1979, and I read the literature that was available through AA, but I also read Ernest Kurtz's Not God, and that fascinated me. This idea that you could use spiritual principles to solve this awful problem. So then the subject of this movie, Bill Wilson, had only been dead for 8 years. There were, hundreds of thousands of people that knew him, or at least had met him around. And so it seemed rather presumptuous for somebody like me to go searching. So I became interested in what was called the Oxford Group, and a guy by the name of Frank Buchman, and started to look for the places that this methodology that's called the 12 Steps of AA came from. And I met some of the most remarkable people, and I've been involved with this group, Initiatives of Change, which is the modern day name of the Oxford Group, for about 30 years now. And they are the most incredible group of people. So these are just some of the things about how I got interested. I was doing some research on the Oxford Group, and I ran across this letter that Bill Wilson wrote in 1958 to his friend Sam Shoemaker, and it showed a man that was completely different than what seemed to be presented. Not completely different, but much deeper, much broader, much more brilliant than what I'd been exposed to with the AA literature. And so I went down that, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved with this Stepping Stones Foundation. Now, if your listeners are interested in history, there's, aside from my film, of course, and the film is called Bill W. Conscious Contact. And you can find it on billwconsciouscontact.com. But another resource that I'd really like to recommend to you is steppingstones.org. And Stepping Stones is the historical home of Bill and Lois Wilson, and it's the repository of all of their correspondence and it's just a remarkable place. And I was fortunate enough to be the beta tester for their digital archive. So I've had access to Bill Wilson in ways that very, very few, maybe a handful, have ever had. And I've gotten to know him as a person outside of Alcoholics Anonymous. I like to say that my focus is really his life outside of AA. Now you go to that steppingstones.org, and on the right there's a button that says Learn, and if you click on that, you can register and have access to now literally, because we raised the money and did a bunch of stuff, to literally hundreds upon hundreds of Bill and Lois's personal letters. And so your listeners get to have a relationship with these remarkable revolutionary individuals that 10 years ago people never had. And the wonderful thing is that all the letters that are up are in English, Spanish, and French. So it's a wonderful, wonderful resource.
I wanted to ask you, how did you first come to think about making a film about this? We're talking about the conscious contact.
I've had a daily meditative practice for over 46 years. And what happens is, and I've tried a lot of things, a lot of different things over the years. But what happens is that one learns to follow one's heart and not to try and make what comes across one's heart fit in reality, but to follow it and see what happens. For example, I'm doing all these talks about Bill Wilson. I go around the world giving these talks on Bill Wilson and conscious contact and his spiritual evolution. And I'm down in Texas, Brownwood, Texas. Now, Brownwood, Texas is not exactly a beautiful place. Beautiful people, but it's just like, really?
Okay.
You can't, you have to drive forever to get there. It's just, And one of the things that I'd found in my research, it wasn't in any of the AA literature, was that the transcendental meditation people said that Bill W. had learned TM. Now, I'm a historian. A historian needs two independent sources in order to call something factual.
Okay.
Okay. So all this information is coming from one side. And there are different voices, but really it's just one voice that's coming through about this, about Bill learning about TM. And there was nothing in any of the AA stuff, nothing in Bill's letters, nothing in the General Service Office, none of any of the places that I normally did my historical research. So I could only tell it as a story, an anecdote. I'm down in Texas and I'm giving this talk, and I had a slide in my talk which showed the Maharishi, showed Bill W. Now, I didn't Photoshop them together or anything. And this guy walks up to me and he says, "My dad taught Bill W. TM."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So this story has been circulating in the ether for years. And I looked down one day and said, "Oh, Jay can tell it." So what happened is we talk. He says, "Do you want to meet my dad?" I think, what hospital for the elderly am I going to have to go to? Turns out he's only 8 years older than I am, I'm embarrassed to say. Anyway, so I call up my friends at Stepping Stones and say, "I got a real piece of history." They're excited to hear it.
Yeah,
So I say, "Let me go up there with my iPad and we'll sit there and I'll interview the guy. But it was too good. It was too good a story. So I called Kevin Hanlon. Kevin Hanlon's a good friend of mine, and he's the director and producer of the Bill W. documentary that was done in 2012. And he lives in New York, so I call Kevin up and I say, hey, why don't you come up? We'll do a 3-camera shoot. Maybe we get 10 or 15 minutes of this guy, but it'll be really good, and it'll be worthy of what's going on. But then the story just kept getting more and more. I'm thinking the thing's going to cost me it's going to be about 7 minutes long, maybe cost me $10,000. We now have an hour film, and I learned the origin of the term bet the house.
Bet the house?
Yeah. What I had to do, I needed money to get the film done, and I wanted it to be the best I could do, right? So I took a loan out on my house.
Okay. You did that.
I bet the house on it, and we came up with what I believe is a remarkable document that shows one of the great healers of the 20th century.
2 letters that Bill wrote to Dr. Carl Jung.
Would you be kind enough to read what he said?
Himself, right?
Yes.
Clear once more of alcohol, I found myself terribly depressed. This seemed to be caused by my inability to gain the slightest faith.
That when he's in the toughest part of his life, that what does he do? He leans in to spirit, not out.
Yes.
And so this is the ultimate thing in the movie, of course, is to encourage people to get in touch with whatever it is that's inside of them, but to see that the example of this person is he was leaning in, not leaning out.
Okay, so how long did it take you to make?
Literally, I met Lawrence Norton on the 15th of May in 2023. So we literally got it done within 2 years.
Okay. And did you run into any challenges? Or was it all smooth downhill?
Well, yeah, right. I think the creative process is always challenging. I mean, there may be some people that color inside the lines. I've never been one of those people. I'm interested in what we call primary document research.
Okay.
In other words, that it comes and is verified by somebody that was there, preferably 2 people, and not just a story that's passed on from person to person to person, because they get embellished and changed. And so I got together with a gentleman. His name is William Shaberg, and he wrote a book called The Writing of the Big Book.
Okay.
The Writing of the Big Book. And this just got translated into Spanish, by the way.
Fantastic.
He might be a very interesting, he's a very dear friend of mine, but he might be a very interesting person for you to talk to. But Shaberg and I put together what we called the Symposium on AA History, where we got academics and people that were outside of the AA bubble to come and talk about their experience, what they'd learned, what they academically had found, and the like. And anyway, he's just a remarkable guy. And he's one of my closest friends. We talk 2-3 times a week, and have for probably 15 years. That great thing when you meet somebody that helps carry your personality through this life. So anyway, in the film, we're doing like one of the great things for your listeners when you watch this documentary, because to get all the way up to rural New York is difficult. We've been able to photograph like Bill Wilson's writing studio in a way that nobody's been able to present it before. The Stepping Stones Foundation allowed us to have access to pictures and recordings of Bill and Lois that had never been available. So anyway, we're going up, and I've got a film crew, and we're working on things, and Sally Corbett-Turco, who's the executive director there at Stepping Stones, and by the way, they have a Spanish-speaking member of their board, who's another person that you might really enjoy talking with about this incredible resource. So we got I'm there, and I'm going to interview Sally, and we've got all these people, and the cameraman and the sound people, and blah 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 blah. And Sally comes up with that the people that she was with the week before have all come down with COVID.
Okay.
What am I going to do? So I call my friend Bill Shaberg up,
Mm-hmm.
and he was unable to be there. And so now I'm really in a quandary. And sure enough, Sally tests negative, and because she had the bug earlier, she didn't get it like the other people did, and we were able to do the interview and do the walk around the house. But because I thought about, well, my friend, if I invited him into the conversation, it would be really, really ennobling and interesting to people. So then I went home, and then I flew back to New York a few weeks later, and we did that other part of the film. So again, what happens is when one follows one's inner voice, is the story tells you what to do.
The inner voice. So you said you've been meditating for 40 years or plus?
Yeah, well, actually, I probably started meditating in 1969.
Nice.
But I would say that I've had a daily practice now. I'm close to a daily practice for well over 46 years.
Okay, so this would be, I think, really interesting for people, because people, at least in my country, and probably all over the world, right? But they think of meditation as some sort of strange ritual for the monk, for the very religious.
Right.
It's very strange. Why should people meditate? What exactly is it that you do in simple words, and what do you get out of it? Meditation.
In this world that is overwhelmed with materialism and people telling us that we should be afraid of each other, it is socially irresponsible for me to go out into the day without getting centered, so that I can see people as they are and not as people are telling me that I'm supposed to be. So meditation is, we all have a faculty within us. It's like an antenna, and it's installed in every human being. Very much like some of the other things that we have. But it's on the evolutionary scale, it's very, very new to many cultures. To some cultures, they've been at it for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens is is that if one spends 3 to 5 minutes, that's all it takes, and gets quiet, one will start to hear a voice that is not their own, or it is their own. In other words, there's something going on besides this conscious reactive mind. And the fruits of being in contact with that, in conscious contact with that, is that when I'm at the grocery store and somebody isn't acting correctly, that I don't have to correct them. And then when it's my turn to talk to the person who's taking the money and the like, that what I do is I get to greet them. In other words, like every morning before I leave my home, Carlos, I get in touch with the fact that I have been given a second chance at this life. And what a wonderful opportunity that is. And that everybody that I meet today, whether or not I don't have to say any words, but the way that I treat people allows them to know that there's something else going on and that it's available for them too. I'd like to really recommend, because it isn't translated into Spanish, a wonderful book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Okay, let me write that down.
The Artist's Way.
Okay.
And what this book does, and the reason I recommend it is that it talks about getting in touch with one's inner artist. We don't have to worry about religion or philosophy or any of that stuff, but it's very practical advice about doing something called morning pages. And what one does is that one sits using the prompt in this book to just kind of learn how to get in contact with this inner voice, that we free write 3 pages in the morning. Okay?
I didn't catch that.
So in other words, there is no topic specifically. You just get a pencil and a piece of paper and you just start writing.
Ooh, okay.
Now, some people would say it's kind of like automatic writing. Other people would say that it's, in the Oxford group, they called it getting guidance. But if you start doing this on a daily basis, what happens is that you get into a relationship with some voice other than your own, but very much your own. So the idea of a meditative practice is to get in touch with that. And there are all kinds. Over the years, there's so many different things I've done. I've done things like the method of centering prayer, which is something that if your listeners enjoy Catholic practice, centering prayer was developed by a man by the name of Thomas Keating, who was a Roman Catholic monk and a very interesting character. And it's a very simple practice of 20 minutes twice a day using a sacred word that you come up with for yourself. I've chanted. I've done things like the Course in Miracles. I've been involved with different church groups at one time or another. I've been currently I'm involved with a thing. It's not transcendental meditation, but it's a similar root. It's a Hindu mantra-based meditation. It's Vedic meditation that that I do now, but it's kind of like going into a bar.
What do you mean?
There are all these different types of alcohol, and you
Oh, okay.
play around until you find one that you really like the way that it tastes and looks and works and all that stuff. It's the same thing with meditation.
Okay, that's a very strange analogy. Yes.
But it's not. Historically, it's very wonderful because in the movie we talk about Carl Jung. And Carl Jung, the great psychologist who had an impact on the movement, in a letter that he wrote to Bill Wilson, the very last thing you see on the screen as the movie ends is spiritus contra spiritum,
Yes.
which is Latin. What Jung said is he said that it's very interesting that you use the same term in Latin for the highest spiritual state and the most depraving poison. Therefore, the interesting thing is spiritus contra spiritum.
Yeah, that make your example logical, right? Exactly.
And I spent a little time in bars too, but that's neither. And the other great thing is, Carlos, nowadays, we have this thing called the internet. And you can go and get YouTubes on all these wonderful people and taste around until you find things that I think a really good place to start is a man, his name is Eckhart Tolle, Tolle.
I'm well aware of him.
Yeah. And his book, The Power of Now, which is translated into Spanish,
Definitely.
is and I really like also the follow-up to it, The New Earth. Wonderful, wonderful insights. And very very broad in their approach, and there's no theology.
None whatsoever. Yes.
Yeah. I'm going to break my pledge to you. I'm sorry. I have a meditation website.
Yes.
And it is not, it's not translated, but I promise you
Okay.
that since I met you, because I've got to refresh the thing sometime in the next year or so, that when I refresh it, that it will be, that everything on there will be translated, and hopefully that there'll be a Spanish resource also. And so thank you for opening me personally in that way.
What is the address for your website?
It's the numeral 3, then minutes, plural, MINU,
Minutes. Yes.
of silence.
Minutes of silence.org.
In about minute 9, Lois talks about what she and Bill did in the morning.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. So this is really cool. If you've got folks that, because I've been really fortunate. I'm in the 4th great love affair of my life. Today, right now, this day, is the 3rd anniversary of when my muse, I was married to a spectacular woman who was a member of the fellowships for 28 years, that she dropped her body. And this is the morning that we're talking, which I just think is beautiful because it's a way of her touching me and me touching her through you. But in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it talks about if circumstances warrant, we invite our wives or friends to join us in morning meditation. Now, in this country, if you get a warrant, it's fairly important. It's like the police come. and give you this paper and say, we've got a warrant for your arrest, right? So if circumstances warrant, we invite our wives and friends to join us. So just your listeners, you can go to your beloveds that you live with, that you cohabitate with, and you can say, I heard this strange man from Sedona, woo-woo capital of the world. Except we're non-dual. We're not woo-woo. I'm just woo. And he said that I could be a better lover, friend, partner if we would take 10 minutes every day and sit down together. Would you help me, please? What are they going to say, right?
Yeah, very persuasive, yes.
So this is I also wrote a book, by the way, that's not
Okay.
in Spanish. I'll have to get it. I have to get it translated.
You must.
Called Loving Sober. That's for free on the internet. But what Lois says is, she said that every morning they got together and they drank a cup of coffee in bed. Now, what's better than having a drink with your beloved in bed, right? Start off. Then what they would do is they would get quiet for 3 or 4 minutes. And they would ask specifically for guidance for the day.
Okay.
Asking this inner voice, asking this higher purpose, what do you got for me? What do you got? What do you want? I'm up. And then that after that 3 or 4 minutes was done, they would talk about what they felt and how they could apply it to their plans for the day. And then they said their prayers and they'd get up and leave. Now, if you do that for 30 days, you won't recognize your relationship. You won't recognize it. Because when 2 people sit, something gets transmitted that's beyond thought. We know this from the physicists. And, and when that happens, the neural pathways start to be rewired and all that stuff. But it's practical. And you start following what that little intuitive voice said, which, is maybe call Jay up and ask him to come on the show.
Exactly. Well, not exactly.
Those things. Yeah. But I mean, those kinds of things. It's practical stuff. So I just want all your listeners to know that in the movie, there are some little pearls along those lines that they can apply to their lives. That, and again, it's an experiment. But my experience with that was that the days that I spent time in quiet, just 10 minutes altogether, saying the prayers and everything with my beloved, I treated her better and I treated me better than I did on the days that we didn't.
I was exactly going to ask you, the last question was going to be, why should people see it? No? I mean, in general terms.
Oh, well, yeah. Bill Wilson was one of the great healers of the last century. And he had some experiences and some insights about living that were helpful to millions. Millions. So being able to pick up a few of those things and being able to apply them to yourself, to be encouraged to stay on that path, and then also to be exposed to somebody that people want to make Wilson a saint. He's not a saint. He's just another guy. Okay? He's just another guy. And the wonderful thing is that here he is at the end of his life looking for ways to connect with spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm 71, and maybe in 8 years, you and I will talk because I'll have another 2 books and another film out and stuff. And I promise you that I will never be involved in a project again which your listeners cannot access with a click.
Exactly.
So you changed my life, Carlos, or your excuse me, your listeners did. But that I hope that I have grown in effectiveness and understanding. I hope that I have grown in this relationship with whatever this power that I have no desire to define, but yet I know what exists. I'll give you a fun one to and then if you got something else. See, this is what I believe. When I die,
Yes.
I'm going to wake up. And I'm going to be in a big field. I'm going to look around. And there's going to be a gate. I'm going to go walk through the gate. And there's this beautiful, I call her the creatrice, the creative principle. And she's there and she goes, "Oh, Jay, how are you? Did you have a good time?" And I'm going to turn around and I'm going to say, "Did you see what happened back there? There's this, there's that, the telltale, blah, 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 blah." And she's going to look at me and she's going to kiss me on the forehead. She's going to say, "Jay, I promised you that I would meet you at this time and in this place. Now, did you have a good time? You begged me to drop you off at the amusement park. Now, Carlos, I don't know about you, but if you and I go to the amusement park, we are not going to be on the little kiddie rides. We're going to be on the big things that are turning us all around and inside out and all that, all the scary stuff."
Definitely.
So,
So, yeah, after a while, it's going to be just a very short day in a
Yes.
very big school.
yes, exactly. Yeah, Wilson used that a lot. Wilson used that a lot.
Well, it's been fantastic. It's been way more than I expected, actually.
Boy, thank you. my friend.
I've had a fantastic time talking to you. Very, very interesting. I have a lot to think about. And thank you very much for speaking to me. Eh?
Oh yeah. And anytime, call. I'm always delighted to speak and encourage people on the path.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Bye bye, my brother.
We'll see you.
Bye bye.
Y no hay